This is Greg Dickson coming to you live from the music show on chaoticradio.com on the Subject Press.
Okay. This is Sasha George from the Subject Press, and I am on the phone with Greg Dickson. And he is a radio DJ from the Kaotic Radio. How you doing, Greg?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm actually pretty good. You have my undivided attention today, humorly.
That's great.
Yeah. So I am calling in regards to your DJ skills. And can you tell the audience a little bit about you so they can get comfortable and well aware?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first and foremost, thanks for taking an interest in me and being interested in who I am and what I'm doing. I really do appreciate that. I got into the radio industry kind of on accident. I have friends, I should say, that are in radio. I have an acquaintance of mine that's on the Howard Stern show, and then I've had some friends that are in, other avenues of satellite radio, Sirius XM, and I always had kind of a interest in doing a music show, but I never wanted to do a podcast because I felt that a podcast was more on an A-list celebrity type level, and you had to be somebody for them to be interested in a podcast because of the effort that they need to put forth with a podcast as far as downloading it, taking the time out of their day to listen to it, and just have an interest to even download it is time consuming enough. So
yes, it is.
Right. So I was I've been singing in punk rock bands for more than half of my life, and I had, probably 3 bands that I've been in that have been, CD list successfully, good in punk rock around, California, Vegas, Arizona, Nevada, those types of places.
Wow.
Nothing, like in Europe or anything like that. But I've never wanted to do that. That was never my goal. So I was singing in a band for many years probably about 4 years, called Middle Class Rejects, and it was put together by Jeremy Bagley and Jason Kirkpatrick, and those guys are both professional tattoo artists from Lefty's Tattoo in the city of Orange, and I was playing bass at that time in a band called the Scabs, and I was playing on all these shows with like the Exploited, UK Subs, bands, Agent Orange, DI, we were Guttermouth, all kinds of just
incredible
bands. Yeah, wow. And I didn't really have much interest in those bands because I kind of come from a metal background, a metal and a hard rock background. So
right.
It was really cool to just play for the audience, and I started learning a lot about punk rock in the 90s, and I started venturing out more into punk music, and I like the more accomplished bands, if you will, and that's no disrespect to any of the other bands, but like the Circle Jerks and the Exploiting, those bands I was playing with, they were rad, but they just weren't doing it for me. They didn't have that oomph. They didn't have like what that
and you need the oomph.
Yeah, they didn't have like what that No Effects had or what that Pennywise had or the Descendants or Guttermouth at that time, or
right.
And there were a lot of other bands that I was listening to at that time in the punk rock, under that punk rock umbrella, that were really just kick ass. But it was like the guitar leads, it was the good singers, and it was the good rhythm section. So there were things like that really kind of attracted me to those bands. And so when I was playing in Middle Class Rejects, we had a lineup change, and the 2 guys that were in the band that invited me in the band that told me, hey man, you should really set the bass down and sing punk rock. You got a great voice for it. And I was like, no, because I tried to sing punk in the Scabs, and they would always tell me, no, you suck, and they would shoot me down, and they didn't want me to sing. And we lost the singer, and when I said, hey, instead of auditioning the singer, why don't you give me an opportunity to do it? And they wouldn't do it. And then the band asked the Scabs, and this is the original Scabs, Social Critics Against Bullshit Systems, that was put together by Andy Nelson and Brian Harding and Johnny Armstrong, Huntington Beach, Garden Grove kids. And
right.
The band just kind of fell by the wayside, and it was a shame because we were playing for big crowds, and we were actually at that time when the observatory was called, the observatory now in Santa Ana used to be called the Galaxy, and we were like pulling 900 kids in on a Thursday night. And
oh,
we were
man.
we were doing really, really good. So that band kind of just went away, and then I did the Middle Class Rejects thing. And to answer your initial question that you asked me 10 minutes ago, I got hit up by Ryan from the Black Lung Show on chaoticradio.com, and I kind of we talked. It was very short-lived, and we talked, and then I went after him, and I said, hey, I really want to do your show. I really want to come on your show because I wanted to see what chaoticradio.com was all about, but I really wanted to talk to Ryan, and I wanted to plug the band, and I wanted to plug everything for Middle Class Rejects, and we were getting ready to go out and do a couple of shows with Agent Orange, and Ryan was kind enough to have me on his show, and I came and I did his show, and 2 months later I got a job at Chaotic Radio.
Wow.
That's how it all kind of started. So,
and you have a great voice for radio. You really do. It's a very nice, inviting, relaxing, and it just hypes you up the way you are flawless about it. And it's a compliment.
It's funny. Well, I do appreciate that, and I thank you. But it's quite funny because when I'm excited, my voice goes super, super high, and a lot of people always give me shit about that. But I do appreciate that, and a lot of people have told me that, and I think that's one of the reasons why, like, even with singing in a band, where, like, I'm not one of your octave singers where I can, come out there like Chris Cornell or, Jim Lindbergh from Pennywise or somebody like this, where I would be able to, kind of come in and sing all these kind of harmonies and have all these kind of, like, great, tones and be able to
now,
really kind of like blow it out of the water. I'm more of like, I just kind of have my technique. I find what works for me, and I'm limited. I am limited, but I do what I can do, and I own my stage performance and all of that. And so it's funny that you say that because I've gotten that compliment on both sides of the spectrum with radio and with singing in the band. So I really do appreciate that.
Right, which is toxic energy, right?
Toxic Energy is what I'm doing right now, and I'm playing that band, and we've been around for a couple of years now, and we're going strong. We're getting ready to.
I know, and I'm excited to learn about it with my partner, who is going live camera with you. It's amazing. You are multi-talented.
Really juggling a lot of things right now, but yeah, we're getting ready to fly up to San Francisco. We got some stuff with the Dickies up there. Then we come back, and we have the It's Not Dead Festival, and then we have a lot of stuff on the drawing board right now, and we're very grateful and very appreciative to everyone that's been in our corner and that's supported us and that's helped us. We really work hard, and there's a lot of haters and a lot of jealousy out there, and I'm not that person. I've always been a supporter, and I've always just worked hard to get to the next level. So, well, how do you get these shows? Well, we go in the studio and we write the best music we can write, best music that we can write that's within our brain to our fingertips and our brain to our vocal cords, and we do, and we submit it, and we go after it, and we're hungry. And I'm 43 years old, and I'm fighting like I was 16. I know I'm not going to be, on MTV and drive a Ferrari and live in a big house, but I never intended to do that in music, and I never thought I would be this far in music. I never thought I would share the stage with the bands that I've shared the stage with and the stages that I've stood on. I mean, we played at the Grove in Anaheim not too long ago, and to stand on the same stage Prince stood on was, that was a breath of fresh air, a feather in my hat. And so it was like,
Which not many people can say they did,
Right, yeah.
And you have this personality as well. I mean, your confidence is a passion. If you don't have the confidence and the passion to what you want to do with music, people can read into that, and they're not going to, feel like they connect to you in that manner. And that's exactly what it's like with a radio station. They want to be able to follow a person who's very confident enough to relay what they're anticipating, what more. And I guess that's what comes to my question of, what was your first show like?
My first show was my first two shows were quite scary. And as my program director and the owner of Kaotic Radio at that time would say, he said, "You jumped in the deep end."
Uh-oh.
So my first guest was Keith Morris of Circle Jerks and Black Flag, or Circle Jerks and Off.
I'm loving these names.
Yeah, and then my second guest was in studio was Sindog from Cypress Hill.
Wow.
And then my third guest was Steve Caballero, professional skateboarder. So,
Were you nervous?
I was nervous, and I've been doing radio now for probably a year and a half, and I'll be honest with you, I'm barely now starting to get comfortable and finding it. It's really, if you're there just to screw around and BS and make it a hobby, then have at it. But if you're there to really do research and really try to, talk to these guys, I mean, we're talking about A-list celebrities. What am I going to ask the guys from Cypress Hill that nobody's ever asked them before? What am I going to ask Keith Morris that nobody's? I mean, I've had Bad Religion, I've had Pennywise, I've had Circle Jerks, I've had Fishbone, I've had Voodoo Glow Skulls, and when I say these names,
that gave me goosebumps. Stop, Greg.
Buck Cherry.
Awesome.
I mean, these aren't guys that used to be in the band. These aren't, and no disrespect to the musicians in the band, but these are the front guys.
Right.
But these are also guys that I've looked up to, and
they're the tanks, literally.
Yeah, and they've given me my stamp of approval when I said, hey, when I talk about this, am I right on point? Do you guys give me your pat on the back? I mean, when, the thing that really, there was a couple shows that really hit it out of the park for me, and one day, to answer your question, the first show was Keith Morris, and it was very intimidating. It was very scary. He's very opinionated, and he's very much he's got backbone. I mean, this guy, he's respected on all levels, and
right.
Again, go back to what we said when we started this interview. I wasn't a fan of those bands, Sasha. I was into the Pennywises, the Guttermouth, the No Effects. I wasn't into the Circle Jerks, the Black Flags, the Exploited, the Dickies, the UK Subs, the DIs. I wasn't into those bands. I didn't know anything about those bands, and I didn't really care because when I left, when I grew up, I was so into heavy metal, and it was crazy because I was considered a poser in school because I would wear a Motley Crue shirt with parachute pants, but at the end of the day, I wanted to break dance to Run DMC's Running Hell. I mean,
so you're very versatile.
I got beat up and balls.
Oh my God, you did?
I got beat up probably. I mean, punk rockers talk about how they had a fight to have a mohawk. I had a fight for what I believed in. My mom, she was in property management, so my life, we always moved, and we didn't move to the good areas. I mean, I grew up in, I was born in the South Bay. I lived in Hawthorne, and then from Hawthorne, I went to Hermosa Beach. And from Hermosa Beach, I went to Baldwin Park, and these were all the times when Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, was at his peak. I was scared to death, and my music was really something that I looked up to. It was really crazy that I was so involved with such a wide variety of music. But, yeah, I took a lot of ass kickings because people would call me a poser because of, I was into metal. I mean,
Now, I have to ask you one question about that.
Well,
I know you keep referring to metal. Why metal, though? What pulled you to that specific sound?
To heavy metal, I think because it was so theatrical, it was so huge, it was the guitar playing, the vocals, the drums were so like
Manowar and
no, it was just they were accomplished musicians. When I look at people like Randy Rhoads and Tony Iommi and Tommy Lee and these guitar players, and I think it was just the time that I was born, but I'm really, really big in classic rock, like Bad Company, Leonard Skinner, 38 Special, Foghat, a lot of those bands, Blue Oyster Cult. I'm really into those bands too. But the funny thing is what I was going to tell you is when I was growing up, every Halloween I was Nikki Sixx for Halloween.
No way.
Yeah. So, but here's where it gets really crazy. So I'm into heavy metal for all these years, and then I don't go to the punk rock world. When I'm like 14, 15 years old, I'm still skateboarding. Now I'm hardcore skater. But I'm still listening to metal and everything. But I kind of drifted out of music a little bit. I did it, and when I was a kid in the fifth grade, I played guitar on one string at Margaret Heath Elementary in Baldwin Park, and I played a part of Paranoid from Black Sabbath, and I played the ending of Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven on a crappy amplifier and a crappy guitar my mom bought me at a pawn shop in downtown Baldwin Park. And I played at the talent show, and I had the gift to play. I knew I could play, and then I put the music aside when I was like 13, 14. My mom got a job in Orange County, and that's what brought us out here. So when we came to Orange County, I became hardcore skater, and then I made this. And
you lived to talk about it, did you?
Yeah. But here's the funny thing: I made a mean left turn. And you know what that left turn did to me? It turned me into a rude boy. I got into ska music, like insane,
wow.
Yeah. So it was really crazy. So that's how I came up with my idea for the music show for chaoticradio.com. When you listen to my show, you're going to hear everything from Madonna to Depeche Mode to Guttermouth to Led Zeppelin to Iron Maiden to NoFX to you name it, I'm gonna play it. And that's it because I have such a big admiration and such so much respect for music that doesn't get played on radio anymore. And I think people forget about the music.
Yes, they do. Or it's repeated.
Well, that too, but it's like I want to be that guy when I play a song and someone goes, "Oh, I remember that song. I forgot about that song." I want to be that guy to play that song to give you the goosebumps, to make the hair on your arms rise, and I want to be that.
You.
Yeah, and that's what my show's all about. I can't. There is no fucking way I can be pigeonholed to one genre of music, Sasha. It's fucking insane. There's no way because like I told you, let's go back to when I was in the fifth grade getting the shit kicked out of me for wearing heavy metal outfits, but at the same time, I was breakdancing. I got a job at the swap meet when I was a kid. The first albums that I bought were Metallica's Kill 'Em All, Run DMC Raising Hell, and LL Cool J.
Okay, I love you now.
Yeah. So
Cool J's awesome.
And so it was, so that's kind of like my...
Mine was Mama's Gonna Knock You Out.
Yeah, that was old. I was kind of like, that was already past. I just, and you know what? The thing is, too, is I feel that chaoticradio.com gives me such a carte blanche, if you will, and it lets me spread my arms and my wings, and I can fly, and nobody says anything to me about it, but going back to your original question is, yes, I was scared. I was nervous. I kind of feel like I shit the bed because we can go on for hours talking about what I think I did wrong.
Right.
I'll give you a quick example, and then I'll shut up and you can ask more questions. But
an exclusive insight. All right. Give it to me.
I'm actually sitting here right now with my friend Fidel Navarro.
Hello.
We're at the clubhouse in Yorba Linda. We're having a cocktail, and we're in the back room talking.
What? And you didn't invite us in the audience? Oh, right. Rude.
But anyway, let me tell you this story, and you can continue with whatever you want to ask me because I'll tell you anything you want to know.
Okay.
When I did the interview with Sindog from Cypress Hill, I was so scared. I was so nervous. And Fidel, you even said you had met Sindog before a few times, and he was like the coolest guy in the world. And a lot of people, I knew him, and I didn't know him. So I had ran into him on a couple different occasions, and I invited him on my show, and he's got this new band right now called Power Flow, and they're kicking ass, and they're a rad, like they're a metal band. And, you know, when I met Sindog, I'm like, oh my God, like you're into metal, like you have no idea how into metal I am. So
it was a competition.
Well, no, because I didn't want to talk to him about Cypress Hill. What am I going to ask him about Cypress Hill that nobody's already asked him?
True.
So I went to my resources for what I want to talk to him about, and I don't like to interview people. I like to have conversations with them, and I like to talk to them about music. So here's a funny little story that he comes in, he does the interview, we're done. I go into the restroom, I wash my hands, I come back out, we take a picture. Blaine Humbles, the owner of Kaotic.com at that time, takes the picture. He posts it online. The likes are going up, and we're at like 300 likes. I get home, because when I first started doing my show, I was doing it on a Tuesday night from 7 to 9. So he leaves. I have a beer. I calm down. I get home. I'm laying in bed, and I'm looking on social media, and I see the fucking picture, and I text Blaine, and I go, Blaine, delete the picture. He goes, why? I go, delete the picture. It's me and Sindog. I go, delete it. You got to delete it. We have to edit it. He goes, why? I go, look at the picture. I was so nervous when I came out of the bathroom. I took the picture and my friggin' zipper was down.
Oh, you poor guy. Oh, my God. You were unleashing the demon of your metal.
You know, and I'll take it even one further. I had bought a magazine a week before to do a bunch of research on music, because I hate reading, but I'm big into reading right now. So I read for my show, and I dig deep. I really do. And there was this article in the back of this Rolling Stones magazine, and it was the top 100 records of all time, and Cypress Hill was one of them. And I didn't bring it up in the interview. So after the interview, Sindog is looking through the magazine. He goes, no way, we're in the top 100? And he fucking blows the lid, and he freaks out. No way, this is right. And I'm telling myself, oh, my God, I didn't even bring it up in the interview.
Oh, my God.
I felt like the biggest idiot ever.
Oh, no. So that probably made you more determined to make sure to bring information, regardless to what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that goes into this question is, what's it like to prepare for your shows?
It's time-consuming, and thank God for the Internet. Actually, you know what? I got to take that back, because I'll tell you something. For a lot of the stuff that I do, I don't really need the Internet, because it's kind of like I can blow through it, because I was into these bands in the 80s and in the 90s so aggressively, where I bought the albums. I like my musical in a physical way, where I want to read, the liner notes, I want to read the engineer, I want to read all of that stuff. So it was very much it's very much easy for me when I talk about what I know about, but I'm so in love with music that sometimes the research, I don't need to do it, and I don't mean to sound pompous or cocky, and if I do, I'm sorry, but I think that this was all I knew. When I first started doing the radio show, I was like, I'm going to do a radio show. And then I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, I'm going to do a music show, because I can talk to bands about their gear.
I love that.
Yeah, I could talk to bands about gear, touring, set lists, rehearsals, everything. So it was really kind of crazy that the research that I do now is basically when I want to find out gossip, or I want to find out what's going on, or like I did like 3 weeks ago, I really sat down, and I tell you something, I never even tried this hard in high school. I wrote a tribute, and most people would say it was a thesis, if that's the proper pronunciation, on Chris Cornell. And I did about a half-hour tribute on Chris Cornell, and I started at the top, and I went to the bottom, and that's why I say thank God for the internet, because it allowed me to get information that I didn't know. But at the end of the day, I could have still probably done that, because I am so intrigued and I'm so fascinated with music, and it goes back to the 80s. Like when I think about the Sunset Strip, and I think about Hollywood, and I think about all this stuff. Like, there's never going to be another Depeche Mode. There's never going to be another Morrissey. There's
or Queensryche
or any Jimi Hendrix, any of these guys. And now I'm even like, well, fuck, there's probably never going to be another Pennywise. You know, and I firmly feel that. And so to solidify it, I don't know, like, my research is kind of like, I get bits and tabs of information online, and I do read, but I also am able to just ask the questions, because these
it just comes natural.
It comes natural, yeah, because these are questions that I wondered when I was in the 5th, 6th, 7th grade, like, wow, like, fuck, I would look at Motley Crue and go, who makes those outfits? I remember being like in the 5th and 6th, 7th, 8th grade going, who the fuck, how does Dave Gahan get his hair like that?
I want to know.
Yeah,
is it with egg whites?
Yeah, like what happens when you tour? Like, so you fly to Europe, then you get on a bus, and then you tour. You're like, so these are things that I've always wondered, like, how does it work? You know,
honestly, I never really thought about that, and I'm glad because now I want to know. So these people that you interview, because I mean, you are so passionate, and you drop names like crazy, and it just really fascinates me. You're like a menu of menu, and I swear to God, I just want to sit in front of you and like insert a coin and see what next to learn about a band. It's incredible. And so after you do your interviews, do you connect well out of that character of the Greg Dickson show? Do you become friends? Do you revisit them, or
only if they're playing big shows and I won free tickets?
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
No,
I was like,
I do send out text messages, Happy Father's Day, and I do. Sin Dog from Cypress Hill became a very good friend of mine.
Right.
He's really helped me out a lot, and he's my bro. Like, for me to sit here and say Sin Dog from Cypress Hill is like my friend, it blows my mind. Johnny Two Bags from Social Distortion. Like, I've known Mike Ness for a long time, but Johnny Two Bags is like my friend. And, Josh Todd from Buck Cherry, Jay Bentley from Bad Religion, Jay from Pennywise. And I'm not dropping names, and I'm not trying to sound cocky or conceited. You know what, Sasha? I fucking worked for this, man. I busted my ass to get these guys on my show.
It. Yeah.
So it's not like I'm like, oh, these are guys. Because you know what? You know what makes the world go around? It's all the unsigned artists, all the local bands. Like Dutchie, the guy that owns ChaoticRadio.com right now, one of the best things I think he ever said on his show was he said, all these bands that are like the Pistols, Pennywise, and all this, they're fucking great. Just because they don't have huge record deals and they're not playing in front of 25,000 people doesn't mean anything. They're still great bands. And I said, you know what? That's probably one of the most intelligent things I think I've ever heard you say.
Right. Well, even some of the artists that are on the street just playing because they just want to play and interact with people in the natural, they're really good too,
Yeah.
And I agree. It's not like you're dropping the names. For me, the terminology of dropping the names was that you know your bands. Like, I can only count maybe like 10 offhand people, but I know the song, but I can't remember the band name. You remember the band name, which is very impressive to me, and I just love it. You've gone from this person who's adapted over the years, you're a fan of bands, and now you probably have fans yourself. How are they receptive to you? Are they more receptive to you with your live shows or your audio? I mean, how do you interact with your fans?
I don't really know, because like the whole band thing is like it's the fans for the radio show, you saying?
Yes.
Email. I don't really take a lot of calls on the show. We do get them occasionally, but I don't try to really encourage people to call in because I don't want to. I'm limited on time, so I don't really want to waste that time. And I think when I get to that next level in the radio industry, that I'll be more susceptible to that. I mean, right now I'm doing something on Sirius XM channel 106. It's a volume. With Eddie Crunk. Every Friday I'm on there. I'm known as Metal Demon Greg.
Oh, wow.
And,
I wonder why.
Yeah, right? I call in and we talk about different topics, and they're quick. They're quick-lived. They're 2, 3, 5-minute interviews, and we talk about music. And if there's any, because Eddie Trunk's in Jersey and I'm out here, and so I'll call in, a metal interview metal reviews for shows or things that we want to talk about. Like last Friday, we talked about Mick Mars from Motley Crue with his disease, and we talked about guitar leads versus guitar solos, and so that is a wide variety of people all over the world, and I'm so lucky to have that. Kaoticradio.com. I'm building a brand, and it's basically just getting on social media and saying thank you. Thank you. Thank you for supporting me and helping a guy like me who's a nobody that's trying to get to the next level without hurting anybody or stepping on anybody's toes. So that's how I interact with them, and I tell them, hey, man, I know I'm a nobody, and I don't care who's on my show. I'm straight up down to earth. I'm still that kid that grew up in Baldwin Park with his mom on food stamps. That's me. I'm fucking as real as they come, and I keep it real, but I just say thank you, and I appreciate you letting me bend your ears, and I know I'm nobody, but I'm hungry, and I'm fucking coming. I'm coming.
Well, you de-virgintized me with your first show, and that was Wink. I got to sit and listen to you live when you were talking with Wink, and then you did it was incredible. And I'm like, I want to talk to this guy. I really like him.
Well, thank you. I really do. I appreciate the love, and I appreciate the honesty and you guys reaching out. It really does mean a lot to me.
Well, I think it's great. Do you do topics outside the subject press? Do you just do music, or do you do other topics? It's funny. There's a lot of, I guess you would call it press right now that I have to do for It's Not Dead and the Dickie show, because I don't know if you heard what happened with them on the Warped Tour, but right now I'm to the point where it's like I'm so grateful for supporters, and I was even telling your colleague, I said, hey, you guys, you girls need to fucking come on my show. Yeah, I heard something like that. I didn't want to say it, but the exclusive is out. We are going to the show. And it's funny because your colleague, I hit her up and I said, hey, let's do an interview. And she's like, yeah. And I go, let's do it at the Rainbow Room in fucking Hollywood, because you know why? There's a statue of Lemmy there, and we got to have Lemmy in it. Right? Let's touch the Lemmy. Hey, and that's where it all started for me. I know that I'm nobody, and I know that I'm not, on... You are somebody. Well, but you know what I mean. I'm not... Nope, I don't. I'm not swallowing that pill. You can't make me. All right, well, I appreciate that. But it all started for me. If there was no Sunset Strip, I wouldn't be doing what I do. Right. And if you didn't do what you did, people wouldn't hear about the people that you deal with. So you are somebody. You're able to connect where most people cannot. So there, eat them words, buddy. Yeah, right. So, in my last question, sure. What is your long term? So you said you want to advance your show. What, like a TV show where, better than MTV kind of goal orientated? No, a TV has never really been in my vocabulary. It's more censored. Yeah. Yeah. Well, not that. I mean, hey, if I got an opportunity, believe me, I'm all about it. Me, I love a little TV time. No,
I think right now I really am hungry with radio, but I honestly think that it was funny, too, because when I started doing the radio show, I didn't want to play music anymore. I was really done, and I wanted to focus all my energy and all my my time on radio. And I said, oh, man, I can make great connections. I think I'll be good. And, you know, I have a lot of people giving me, you know, high fives and compliments. And I think right now what I want to do is I really want to see how far I can take this radio thing.
Right.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard spot because this is probably the best band that I've ever played in my life.
What happens if you launch more so in your band than your radio? Will you be made to choose?
I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. I really, it's hard to answer. I don't know. I just, that's tough because the band knows how passionate I am about the radio, so I don't think that they would ever put that hurdle in front of me.
Right.
You know, so I think that, you know, like on Saturday, I had the guys in the studio from the band to just dick around and play records and just talk music, and it was really cool. I was like, oh, God, if we weren't all like in a band, I'd have you guys here every day. But it's like, you know, we all need a break away from each other, too, in the band.
Yeah.
You know, like John Darrow is a good friend of mine, and, you know, him and I are very, very much compatible in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways, like, we're like the yin and the yang, you know what I mean? Like, he has to like slap me in the back of the head and go, settle the fuck down, Greg. You know? Like, you know, like he's got to.
At least he can do that to you.
Yeah, he's got to like kind of put me in my place sometimes, you know. So, and sometimes I need that, you know. I'm good at fighting with myself.
Right.
You know, my mind can and my brain can tell me a lot of fucked up things sometimes. Excuse my language, but I could really, I could put myself in a bad situation just looking in the mirror, you know, and I'm like, you know, and I'm like, it's not that
well,
bad.
Greg, let's have a conversation today.
Like, I don't recognize myself anymore. So it's kind of weird because I've learned the boundaries and the respect that I need to have for my bandmates, and the shows that we're playing, they're incredible. I mean, the shows are getting bigger, the radio show's getting bigger, you know, and it's kind of weird because I look at, are you familiar with who Regis Philbin is?
Yes.
So it's kind of weird. Regis Philbin had no commercial success until he was 52 years old.
Wow.
So all that tells me is AIDS don't mean shit. We never give up. We keep trying.
No, and you can't.
You know, so we can't. No, so I don't think that I'll ever be put in that
Heck, Johnny Cash played forever.
Yeah, right.
Even George Burns, he wouldn't stop smoking, and he was living to like 110.
and the thing with Kaotic Radio, which keeps me alive, and even though people say, well, it's not terrestrial radio, I go, yeah, but dude, your kids, they don't watch regular TV anymore. They watch Netflix. Nope. They watch Hulu. They watch YouTube. People don't listen to terrestrial radio. They find their shows that they like on radio, internet, satellite, via the web, whatever, and it's just what they listen to. It's the world is a different place, and you know what? Yeah, you know, it's indie. It's way more indie now than it's ever been, and yeah, you know, maybe you're not going to be Howard Stern, and maybe you're not going to be, you know, Mick Jagger, but that doesn't mean shit because you don't need to be that big of a person in the industry to be successful.
No. It's just if you touch people and they want to follow you and they want to depend on you for that, and that just makes you important. Yeah. But everybody has their displacement about success.
Right.
But is there anything you would like to add to your persona, your career, me making mistakes by calling dry cleaners? You know.
Right. You actually got me thinking I need to open up a cleaner now. If that number, if my number is only off by one digit, You're calling it cleaners. I need to know what cleaners that is. They go talk to the guy.
Touche.
I'm all right now. I got a 16-year-old son who's home with his mouth wired shut because he had jaw surgery 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
So that's extremely taxing for me and my family and him and everybody. And it's just, he is like handling it like a champ. I mean, I tell you, when this is all done, I tell you what, he wanted a used car for high school next year. I'm buying this kid a brand new car.
Right?
Yeah, like he is like fucking like I gotta give him a pat on the back. I mean, so no, I don't really have anything more that I'd like to add except that right now my son is really, really in my thoughts and my prayers, and
we have him in our prayers now too.
I'm so grateful for everyone that's done my show, from Christian Hosoi to Bouncing Souls to all these guys. Oh, did you hear that? I dropped another name.
Yeah, I did.
Hey,
I'm going to have to keep a score.
Yeah, and if anybody out there needs a loan on their house, they could call Fidel Navarro. He's a loan officer. He's looking at me like, he wanted to meet me for a drink. He's like, who do you think you are?
Everybody now knows. And if your phone rings, you can thank us later.
Right.
So how can people contact you or find you? What is it better to Facebook? Go ahead.
I started a new Instagram page, our Instagram account. So it's Greg Dickson on radio. Then it's just Greg Dickson, Dickson on Facebook, and it's basically just there for the show or any music stuff for Toxic Energy. The guys in the band, they're doing a lot of the networking on social media. I do all the business for the band. Outside of radio and the band, I own a few businesses, so I'm very business savvy. So I really watch out for the best interest of the band, and make sure we don't kind of get burned or anything like that. But it's Greg Dickson on radio for Instagram. There's only there's about 400 followers because I just started that page. I'm not big. Yeah, I'm not big on social media. I'm still kind of old school.
It's hard.
I don't like it. I'm still really old school. I want to build so I look at a band like Iron Maiden, a band where the singer of the band flies his own airplane, right?
Right.
And they're more successful than anybody in the world. And how do they do it? No radio play, very little MTV, very little social media. I want to be the guy out of the 21st century in 2017 to say, you know what? I fucking made it. And I made it with only fucking 200 people following me on Instagram. I don't care about your likes. I don't care about it. I don't fucking give a shit.
Okay, I'm never liking your stuff again. God, Greg.
I don't. I'm going to go old school.
That's fine. I didn't have my first cell phone until I was 30 years old. So.
Dude, Fidel and I still have the brick.
Do you remember those big, bulky ones?
That's the brick.
Yeah, it's huge.
Fidel doesn't know he's on audio for the press subject.
Well, you better say hi so everybody knows you're a real person.
What up? What up?
What up?
That's my boy. That's one of my best friends.
Thanks for being on the show, best friend.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. It was really an honor to speak to you, and I wish your company and your magazine and everything you guys are doing much more success and good health and no stop signs in front of you guys, and keep doing what you're doing because you keep guys like me excited and revved up and wanting to keep doing what I'm doing.
I feel the same way. It's such an honor to speak with you, to learn what trials and tribulations you went through, and the Subject Press is definitely honored to have met Greg Dickson from Kaotic Radio.